Happy Greedsgiving, or Black Friday as some would call it, or Friday morning. Welcome to the Poplar Report. We got a live one here today. Major immigration shift in policy apparently announced by President Trump, permanently suspending migration from many countries. We're going to see what that means. We got severe floods in Asia, earthquake in Indonesia, an envelope shortage. We've talked a little bit about that, but that's being confirmed by you guys out there. And powdered laundry soap is disappearing. I just learned some important things about beans for food storage. Wow, I learned so much from you guys, really, honestly, and I think you'll find some of these things pretty insightful too. We got that and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates. If you have something to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That does get it to the right place. Appreciate all of you guys sending in reports. We've been a little shy on reports recently, so if you have something you're like, should I send that in? Give it a go. Make sure you use the word update, of course. We do want to thank our sponsors, Genesis Gold Group. They help people with retirement accounts to get out of stocks and bonds and into something safer. Stock market's been doing a couple crazy things the last couple days. If you're tired of seeing your retirement savings go up and down and down and down, well, you might want to move over to precious metals. If you do, there will be a link at the end of the video for you to have a conversation with Jonathan and his team. All right, let's start over here at these floods. Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia. We got residents being rescued, trapped by floods on Thursday. Dozens of people perishing at the very least. It looks like that number is going to go up a lot. Also, where we see a lot of perishing, that fire in Hong Kong has gotten, well, it's a lot worse than I thought at first. And it's pretty devastating over there. It looks like the count is over 100 people now. The video footage is devastating there too. But floods in Thailand, in Indonesia, and Malaysia, a big deal over there. They have landslides as well. 19 perishing in Indonesia's North Sumatra, which has been battered by heavy rains for days. Dozens still missing. The United States is now reviewing every green card from some nationalities after the attack on the 2 National Guardsmen in D.C. When asked which countries are being considered, quote, of concern, USCIS is pointing to the 19 countries listed in the June presidential proclamation. The 19 countries include Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Basically, the countries that Americans can't go to or shouldn't go to, right? These are places that really shouldn't be on your tourist bucket list anymore. And President Trump announcing, this is the quote, to permanently pause migration from all third world countries. Further saying, if they can't love our country, we don't want them. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from our country, from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. I think a lot of us, that makes sense. Every other country makes sure that you can add to their country and make sure that you're not going to be a burden upon their society. They literally will do that when you apply for a visa. The United States does that when you apply for a visa. But we had a whole bunch of people just get in under the wire for some reason, under different policies that don't even make sense. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said in a statement that the processing of all immigration requests related to Afghan nationals is stopped indefinitely, pending further review of security and vetting protocols. That's in effect immediately. So if you're in Afghanistan and you're trying to come to the United States, you don't need to bother anymore because it's not going to happen. Probably not too many Afghans watching this because the Taliban doesn't allow them to have internet. Anyway, Indonesia residents rush outside after a 6.6 magnitude earthquake hits in the area. This is off the island of the coast of Sumatra. Yes, where the rain is battering them. It's a combination of massive amounts of rain, earthquake, and boom, we got some landslides that are truly looking like they are devastating. All right, India has approved an $800 million plan to boost rare earth magnet production. Of course, their industries and industrial uses are using Chinese magnets right now. They are going to try to produce rare earth magnets. It's interesting that China has developed this monopoly, and then they used it sort of to kind of annoy everybody with it, but they didn't actually use it to devastate anybody. And now they've given us so much warning that basically every country out there is starting up production of mining and refining of rare earth minerals. Nobody wants to refine them, but there's two big things happening with that. Saudi Arabia is like, hey, you can use our desert to dump your toxic sludge in. And so everyone's like, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, what other uses does Saudi Arabia have other than pumping oil out of the sand and dumping toxic sludge into the sand? Yeah, basically. So it makes sense, and everyone's happy with that. So far, we'll see how far that production goes, but it's going to take a little bit of time for them to ramp up refining, but that's the real bottleneck. Mining of rare earth minerals is not the biggest bottleneck, but it is a harder bottleneck to uncork, right? So you need to, mines take quite a bit of time to get online. They got permitting, they got environmental policies and everything like that. Even responsibly and reasonable environmental policies take quite a while. They need to make sure that when you build a mine, it's not going to collapse and kill everybody, because that's a bad mine. And so there's a lot of engineering that needs to go into the mine. It's not cookie cutter. They need to build these things and design them from the ground up. They need to have a plan of what they're going to do. Anyway, Venezuela's aviation authority said Wednesday that it will ban multiple airlines, every airline that suspended their routes, for heeding warnings from the United States about military activity in the region. It's like, we're going to go bomb them. And the airlines are like, okay, we don't want to be there then. And Venezuela's like, you don't want to put your civilians into a military conflict zone? You're never going to fly to Venezuela ever again. Well, under this regime, these are the affected airlines: Spain's Iberia, Portugal's TAP, Colombia's Aviaca, I don't know, Chile and Brazil's LATAM, Brazil's GOL, and Turkish Airlines. They will all have their operational permits revoked for joining the actions of state terrorism promoted by the United States government and unilaterally suspending air commercial operations. That's right. These airlines, by suspending their flights, are joining state terrorism. I'm not sure what state terrorism is, but the United States government is calling the Venezuelan government terrorists, and the Venezuelan government is calling the United States government terrorists. If you think there's not going to be a shooting war, just imagine how that's going to de-escalate, right? Probably not going to de-escalate very quickly. Angel says, next time you go shopping, notice at Walmart and Sam's Club and others, powdered laundry soap is slowly being eliminated on the store shelves. There are only 2 name brand powdered laundry soaps being sold anymore, Tide and Gain. Powdered laundry soap will stay good for decades if stored in a dry environment. Liquid laundry soap and pods will not last very long because they degrade very quickly. Shower bar soap is also starting to be harder to find in multiple varieties and is becoming more expensive. Bar shower soap will last for decades if stored in a dry environment. Also, liquid soap of any kind will not last for decades if it's being stored. The bottles that hold liquid soap often degrade and often leak at some point as well. So yeah, bar soap is something that you should have cases and cases and cases of, but hand soap is something that, let's just say this, in the preparedness community, we have a lot of people stocking up a lot of food, but a lot of times where they're really short is on soap and cleaning products. Yeah, do you have enough dish soap to wash all the dishes that you're going to make dirty with all the food that you've stockpiled? It's a reasonable thing. Now, it's pretty easy. You go to Sam's Club or Walmart and you get those giant jugs of dish soap. You go get powdered stuff that works for a long time. You can get laundry detergent. You can get those things right now. But they are phasing them out. They want to turn our lives into the equivalent of a 15-minute city. So they want you to be able to walk everywhere so you don't need a car, so you don't actually get around anywhere. Easier to track you if you stay put, and control you, right? And isolate you from unapproved ideas, bumping into unapproved people. Well, they want to do that too, where if all of your stuff in your home expires every 12 months, well, then it makes it really hard to stockpile anything, right? That's one of the reasons why it seems like they're slowly phasing out rice. Notice they're phasing out rice out there. Anyone else seeing that? Yeah, we're seeing it. You have to practically go to an Asian store to get rice anymore. They don't want Americans stockpiling stuff, and if you stockpile stuff, you go on the list. What list is that, Steve? Exactly. Jean says, I was at Dollar Tree in Manchester, Tennessee, and the lady ahead of me in line told the cashier the Walmart very close by was out of envelopes. So she was buying 5 boxes there. Remember how we talked about the shortage of envelopes out there? That's being confirmed over and over again now. Not sure why we're having a shortage of envelopes in the US, but that is apparently happening. Josh says, as a gardener, bitter lettuce is normally from too warm of weather for its growing. So as they try to grow this lettuce down in Mexico and Peru and everywhere other than the United States, it's making sense why it's bitter. Anyway, if you do some winter growing for lettuce and greens, you will find that they are so much sweeter than anything you can find in the store. I plant spinach on Christmas in Missouri for this very reason. So if you want non-bitter vegetables, make sure you plant them in cool weather, right? Anyway, so interesting stuff there. 30-day Ride says, during a blizzard with negative 40-degree temperatures, I was having trouble finding a door that wasn't drifted shut to let my dog out of. Storm doors are an issue in weather like this because the storm door goes out while your other door goes in, right? Well, you can't push the storm door out if it's blocked with all that snow. So I went through the garage. I still needed to shovel through a drift for the dog to get out. I was in my PJs without a coat. I stepped out to shovel a quick exit through the drift, shut the door behind me. I went to go back in, but the blizzard had frozen my doorknobs on the outside, and none of the front doors to the house or garage would turn. And most of the others were still locked. My nearest neighbor is over a half a mile away, and I couldn't even see more than a couple yards in front of me because of the blowing snow, not to mention the roads were impassable. I thought I was going to die, but thankfully I did manage to body slam the back garage door open since it was more sheltered from the wind and for some reason unlocked. I now always check that my knobs are not frozen on the outside before exiting. I dress for the weather, even if just stepping outside for a moment, and I added a keypad outside the big garage door for the openers, the battery-powered one where you can punch in the code, and a bottle of de-icing spray in the garage in the grill just in case. So friends, just think about, things can become life-threatening emergencies fairly quickly. We have lived such insulated lives these last bunch of decades that people have started to take things for granted. And if we're not careful, we'll do the exact same thing. You need to respect things. You need to respect cars. You need to respect power tools. You need to... I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but it's just a reminder. People who are just used to being able to do stuff, haven't picked up a chainsaw in a decade and want to pick up a chainsaw and immediately get out there and start sawing. And it's like, maybe you should, stop for a moment, think through clearly what you're going to do, and remember everything that you should do before you go ahead and do that, right? I mean, it's just common sense kind of stuff, but when you're in a storm or when there's stuff like snow, you need to be more careful, right? Anyway, I'm preaching to the choir. I know, you guys know, but just a reminder out there. Flyer Patty says, when you put unqualified people into these air traffic control jobs, people can die. It's very stressful. As a commercial pilot, which I do not fly anymore because my age and my health, I'm 76, I want to say those people in air traffic control are awesome. But they decided to have everyone get the poke in the arm. And a lot of good people quit, and they're not going there. And then they put all these people in there that are unqualified because what you heard is true about the diversity. It's an extremely stressful job, with the turnover. You're keeping people safe when they're not landing or on the same runway going the opposite direction or taxiing across one way. When people are taking off and landing, people in the sky, not keeping them the distance that they need to be kept apart, and it's still running a little bit old school, so it needs to be updated, but that's beside the point. People are currently not qualified for the system now. Planes are not being taken care of like they were, and everybody is cutting corners. The flying was the safest thing to do in the old days of travel. This year at 76, I drove from Arizona to Arkansas for my vacation because I wasn't getting on a plane, and I have a whole lot of frequent flyer miles that are going to waste because I'm not getting on a plane. My pilot friends say the same thing as me. They're not wanting to get on a plane either. Take that for what it's worth, friends. Solotap says, keep a keen eye on any livestock animals you may have. A nearby neighbor had a dozen chickens stolen right out of their front yard. When the people were caught, they claimed their family was starving and they couldn't afford food. But the cameras showed a Cadillac SUV pulling up while 5 people ran out and grabbed the birds. Yeah, not exactly the truth, is it? Gary says, soaking beans does not work on irradiated beans. So if they've been hit with radiation. So before you stockpile beans, give that a little bit of thought. And why is that? The reason for soaking beans is to put them into sprouting mode. This neutralizes so you're not just soaking them, you're sprouting them, essentially. This neutralizes the natural preservatives in them, lectins. If the bean is dead, it cannot germinate. The lectins are why you get gas. Bad for your digestion, and organic beans are not dead and can grow if soaked or planted. So, if you're stockpiling beans, one thing to do is research if that brand is irradiated. Did they hit it with radiation? Are those beans dead? If so, then you can't plant them. One easy way of checking that is to just sprout them. Take a sample of them, soak them in water, and see what happens. Do they sprout? If they do, then you know, okay, these are live beans. That's good. That's going to make them easier to handle later. All right, friends, if you have other updates or other information to pass along, make sure you use that word update. If you want to get some more information from Genesis Gold about what you can do with your retirement account, there's a link right there on the screen. Just tap it and fill out your information. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.